Imagine a world torn apart by centuries of war, where 7 kingdoms fought endlessly for power. Then, one man rose from the chaos, a figure of immense ambition and ruthless efficiency, to forge a nation from the ashes. This is the story of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. His name echoes through history, associated with monumental achievements like the Great Wall and the Terracotta Army, but also with a legacy of tyranny and an obsessive quest for eternal life. Who was this man who unified a subcontinent, standardized everything from currency to the width of an axle, and then spent his final years desperately searching for a way to live forever? Let's journey back over 2,000 years to uncover the truth behind the legend of Qin Shi Huang. Our story begins not with an emperor, but with a young prince named Ying Zheng, born in 259 BC. His early life was far from secure. This made young Zheng a target, living under constant threat and suspicion. His childhood was marked by instability and danger, an experience that likely forged his future resolve and deep-seated paranoia. When he was just 13, his father died, and Ying Zheng ascended the throne as the king of Qin because of his youth. Real power was held by his prime minister, Wei, a cunning merchant who many historians believe might have actually been Zheng's biological father. For years, the young king was a puppet, observing the intricate and often deadly game of court politics. This period of quiet observation was crucial. He was learning, waiting, and planning. The moment he came of age, Ying Zheng acted decisively. In a swift and brutal purge, he exiled Wei and executed his mother's lover, who had plotted a rebellion. He consolidated his power with an iron fist, leaving no doubt as to who was truly in charge. With the Qin state now firmly under his control, he turned his gaze outward. The time for waiting was over. The time for conquest had begun. The Qin state was already a formidable military machine, thanks to the reforms of a statesman named Yang a century earlier. It was a society geared for war, where merit was rewarded on the battlefield and the entire state was organized to support the army. Ying Zheng inherited this powerful weapon and wielded it with terrifying skill. He and his brilliant generals unleashed a series of relentless campaigns against the other 6 states: Han, Zhao, Wei, Chu, Yan, and Qi. One by one, the warring states fell. The Qin war machine was unstoppable. The campaigns were brutal, with casualties numbering in the hundreds of thousands. Ying Zheng's strategy was one of total war, aiming not just to defeat his enemies, but to completely absorb them. In just 10 years, from 230 to 221 BC, he achieved what no one had managed in over 500 years. He conquered all of his rivals and unified the lands under a single banner. The age of the warring states was over. In 221 BC, standing atop the ruins of his enemies, the 38-year-old Ying Zheng declared himself Qin Shi Huang, which means the first sovereign emperor of Qin. He deliberately chose this new title to elevate himself above the kings of the past. He wasn't just another king. He was the beginning of a new divine imperial dynasty that he intended to last for 10,000 generations. With the wars won, Qin Shi Huang faced an even greater challenge: how to govern this vast, newly unified territory. His solution was radical and uncompromising. He abolished the old feudal system, where local lords held hereditary power. Instead, he divided the empire into 36 commanderies, each governed by officials he personally appointed. These officials were judged on merit and loyalty, not birthright, and they could be dismissed at the emperor's will. This centralized bureaucracy was the foundation of his empire, ensuring his policies were implemented across the land. He then embarked on a sweeping program of standardization. He standardized weights and measures, ensuring a pound of grain in the south was the same as a pound in the north. Perhaps most significantly, he standardized the written language. While different regions had their own spoken dialects, he enforced a single, common script. This meant that an order written in the capital could be read and understood by an official 1,000 miles away. This reform was monumental in creating a shared cultural and administrative identity that has endured in China to this day. He also understood the importance of infrastructure. To connect his vast empire and facilitate the movement of armies and goods, he ordered the construction of a massive network of roads. These imperial highways, totaling over 4,000 miles, were state-of-the-art, with some even having a central lane reserved exclusively for the emperor. He also ordered the creation of a massive canal system like the Link Canal, which linked rivers and opened up new routes for transport and supply, particularly for his military campaigns in the south. And then there's the Great Wall. It's a common misconception that Qin Shi Huang built the Great Wall from scratch. In reality, he connected and fortified existing walls that had been built by the northern states to defend against nomadic tribes, the Xiongnu. It was a colossal undertaking. Hundreds of thousands of laborers, including soldiers, peasants, and convicts, were conscripted to work on the project. Conditions were brutal, and it's said that many of those who died were buried within the wall itself, earning it the grim nickname, the longest cemetery on earth. While the wall we see today is mostly from the later Ming dynasty, it was Qin Shi Huang who established the vision of a single massive defensive line protecting the northern frontier of his empire. His reign was one of creation, but it was built on a foundation of immense human suffering. The first emperor's drive for order and unity came at a terrible price. He ruled through a philosophy known as legalism, which advocated for strict laws and harsh punishments to control the people. Dissent was not tolerated. To quash any intellectual opposition, he ordered one of the most infamous acts of his reign, the burning of books and the burying of scholars. In 213 BC, his prime minister, Li Si, argued that scholarly debate and the study of past philosophies, especially Confucianism, were a threat to imperial authority. They encouraged people to criticize the present by praising the past. Qin Shi Huang agreed. He ordered the destruction of all historical records and philosophical texts from other states, sparing only books on medicine, agriculture, and divination. A year later, according to the historian Sima Qian, when some 460 scholars were accused of defying the ban, the emperor had them executed, allegedly by being buried alive. This act of cultural destruction was intended to wipe the slate clean, to ensure that history began with him. As Qin Shi Huang grew older, his fear of death became an all-consuming obsession. Having conquered the world of men, he now sought to conquer death itself. He became fixated on finding the elixir of immortality. He dispatched expeditions across his empire and beyond in search of mythical figures and legendary substances that could grant eternal life. The most famous of these was an expedition led by a court sorcerer named Su Fu. The emperor sent him out to sea with a fleet of ships and thousands of young men and women to find the mythical island of Penglai, believed to be the home of immortals. Su Fu never returned. Some legends say he and his followers colonized a part of Japan instead of facing the emperor's wrath for their failure. The emperor himself went on grand inspection tours of his empire, partly to display his power, but also to seek out magicians and alchemists who claimed they could help him cheat death. Ironically, his quest for immortality likely hastened his demise. He consumed various elixirs prepared by his court alchemists, many of which contained mercury, a substance they believed had life-extending properties. In modern times, we know mercury is a deadly poison. The emperor grew increasingly paranoid and erratic, terrified of assassins and evil spirits. He had his palaces connected by secret walled-over passageways so he could move between them without being seen. He decreed that no one could know his exact location on any given day on pain of death. His fear was not entirely unfounded. He survived at least 3 assassination attempts during his reign. One of the most famous was by a man named Jing Zheng, sent by the state of Yan, who concealed a dagger in a map. The attempt failed, but it only deepened the emperor's paranoia. While he desperately sought to live forever in this world, he also made elaborate preparations for the next. This brings us to his most breathtaking legacy, his tomb and the Terracotta Army. For 36 years, an estimated 700,000 workers toiled to construct a massive underground necropolis near modern-day Xi'an. The tomb itself, a vast, subterranean palace, has never been opened. Ancient accounts from the historian Sima Qian describe it as a microcosm of the empire, with a map of his domain on the floor, complete with rivers of flowing mercury and a ceiling studded with pearls to represent the sun, moon, and stars. It was said to be rigged with automated crossbows to deter any would-be robbers. Guarding this underground palace in death, as his real armies did in life, was the Terracotta Army, discovered by farmers in 1974. This subterranean legion consists of thousands of life-sized clay soldiers, horses, and chariots arranged in battle formation. What's astonishing is that each soldier is unique. Their faces, hairstyles, and expressions are all individualized, likely modeled on real soldiers from his army. They were originally painted in vibrant colors, a silent, eternally loyal army intended to protect the emperor in the afterlife and allow him to continue his rule. The sheer scale and artistry of the Terracotta Army are a testament to the immense power and resources Qin Shi Huang commanded. It is a stunning display of his vision, his ego, and his profound fear of being powerless, even in death. In 210 BC, at the age of 49, Qin Shi Huang died. He was on one of his tours of eastern China, still searching for the elixir of life. His death was kept secret by his prime minister, Li Si, and the powerful chief eunuch, Zhao Biao. They feared that news of his death would trigger uprisings across the empire. To conceal the truth, they loaded the emperor's body onto his chariot and continued the tour as if he were still alive. To mask the smell of the decomposing body, they had carts of salted fish travel alongside the imperial procession. During this time, Li Si and Zhao Gao plotted. They forged the emperor's will, ordering his eldest son and chosen heir, Fusu, to commit suicide. Fusu was a capable and respected figure who often disagreed with his father's harsh policies and was allied with the emperor's most trusted general, Meng Tian. Li Si and Zhao Gao feared Fusu would diminish their power. They installed the emperor's younger, more pliable son, He Hai, on the throne as the second emperor. The dynasty that Qin Shi Huang had dreamed would last for 10,000 generations barely survived him. The second emperor, He, was incompetent and cruel, completely manipulated by the eunuch Zhao Gao. The harsh laws and heavy taxes of the Qin, which had been tolerated under the powerful first emperor, became unbearable. Widespread rebellion erupted across the empire. The old noble families of the conquered states rose up, and peasant leaders like Liu Bang and Xiang Yu rallied vast armies against the crumbling dynasty. Within 3 years of Qin Shi Huang's death, the capital was captured. The second emperor was forced to commit suicide, and the Qin palace was burned to the ground. The great Qin dynasty, forged in fire and blood, had collapsed. So what is the ultimate legacy of Qin Shi Huang? Was he a visionary leader or a monstrous tyrant? The answer is, he was both. His methods were brutal. He was responsible for the deaths of millions through war, forced labor, and political purges. He suppressed intellectual thought and ruled with an iron fist. The famous Chinese idiom, "fen shu kengru," to burn the books and bury the scholars, forever links his name with cultural vandalism and tyranny. For centuries, Confucian scholars, whom he had persecuted, painted him as the ultimate villain of Chinese history. Yet, it is impossible to deny his monumental impact. The concept of a unified China, Tangsha, or all under heaven, was his creation. The centralized administrative system he established became the blueprint for every subsequent Chinese dynasty for the next 2,000 years. The standardized script he enforced created a cultural cohesion that has held China together through countless cycles of collapse and rebirth. His legacy is written across the landscape of China, from the path of the Great Wall to the terracotta soldiers still standing guard. He was a man driven by a singular vision of order and eternity, a vision he imposed on the world with absolute and terrifying force. He unified a nation, but he enslaved its people. He built wonders, but he did so on a mountain of bones. Qin Shi Huang remains one of history's most complex and controversial figures. His story is a powerful reminder that the line between a visionary and a tyrant can be incredibly thin, and that the grandest of ambitions often come with the greatest of costs. His quest for immortality failed, but in a way, he achieved it. By creating China, he forged a legacy that has made him truly eternal. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey into the life of the first emperor fascinating, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell for more deep dives into history's most compelling figures. See you next time.